nowhere is also a primary target for Osama bin Laden. You know, good old Martha's more likely to get struck by lightning than she is killed by a terrorist. Yet they come out with this ridiculous assertion that people's little B&Bs are going to get targeted by bin Laden, which is why Americans need to report on their neighbours. So the very foundation of it is a mass hoax. We'll be back after the break with Wayne Madsen to talk about Rahm Emanuel. It's the Alex Jones Show Live. Stay tuned, prisonplanet.tv.
We're on the march. The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Alex told you the government announced recently that the recession is over. It ended on June of 2009. The millions of Americans unable to find work might not agree. Perhaps the recession ended for the bankers and government employees, but for the rest of us, things seem to be getting worse. Gold and silver haven't heard the news either. They've begun their long-expected journey to the moon. In addition to converting your shrinking dollars into gold and silver, you should consider a food savings account from eFoods Direct. They both make fabulous investments. Food is our greatest dependency, and we know it will be more precious than any financial resource. You and your family need food to survive a crisis, and you can't eat paper, stocks, or metals. Alex has been urging you to invest in delicious, easy-fix meals to enjoy now or save for long-term. This will freeze the cost of your food while you can still afford it. Visit efoodsdirect.com on the internet or call 800-409-5633. That's efoodsdirect.com or 800-409-5633.
A very wealthy U.S. citizen is predicting that in 2011, we will witness the most important day in America in more than 50 years. He says it will change everything about our lives. The way you shop, travel, invest, educate your children, and even how you take care of your health and your own family. Now, this man has made some outrageous predictions over the years. The crazy part is, he's usually right. You see, he predicted the collapse of GM, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and America's biggest mall owner, General Growth Properties. In fact, Barron's called his work a dire prophecy. Recently, he created a video, which you can watch online for free, detailing his biggest and most important prediction yet. And it's a real eye-opener. I can't stress this enough. You should at least watch this free video online today. He explains everything you need to know, including simple steps you can take to protect yourself. You can find the video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica3.com. Watch the free video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica3.com. Folks, you've heard us talk about Home Gain before. Home Gain is now offering a special promo where you get up to $150 when you buy or sell a home with a Home Gain agent you find through their Find a Realtor program. Home Gain lets you compare realtors anonymously. It's easy. Go to homegain150.com to find and compare realtors anonymously. Enter promo code HomeGain150 and receive up to $150 when you close a deal with a Home Gain agent. Share the Home Gain 150 promo code with your friends via Facebook, Twitter, text, and more. Look for Max, the Home Gain Gorilla, to find out more about how Home Gain is going to pay you. Visit HomeGain150.com today to enter your promo code and get paid for buying or selling a house. That's HomeGain150.com.
Along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. We took a little bacon and we took a little beans, and we caught the bloody British in a town in New Orleans. We fired our guns and the British kept a-coming.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. We've got Joel Skousen coming up in the final hour to host the final hour of the show. Be sure to stay tuned for that. Now, we welcome one of our frequent contributors, and that is former US Navy vet. Of course, he worked with the NSA, and now investigative journalist Wayne Madsen, whose excellent reports you can read at WayneMadsenReport.com. Hello, Wayne. Welcome to the show today.
Hi, good to be with you.
Now, before we talk about Rahm Emanuel, which I wanted to cover, I just wanted to get your take on the historical foundation of resistance movements in general, because we've been talking about the launch of our new campaign today, V for Victory, which is a throwback to how the French resistance used the symbol of the V sign to express their defiance against being occupied by the Nazis during World War II. And I was reading that your grandmother was actually a leader in the Danish resistance movement fighting the Nazis at the same time. And now that America is heading the way of all tyrannical empires with this DHS announcement, you know, encouraging people to report on each other, I just wanted you to speak to the historical role of collective resistance movements from your knowledge concerning the involvement of your grandmother in the resistance against the Nazis.
Oh, right. My grandmother, Victoria Madsen, she was a novelist and a journalist in Denmark. And after the Nazis invaded, of course, she went into the underground, the resistance movement, and actively attacked German troops inside the country. Also was very instrumental in getting about 7,000 Danish Jews and any other person, Jewish and otherwise, who the Gestapo was after, who could make it to Denmark. Of course, they were secreted away on Danish fishing boats and found refuge in Sweden. So she was involved in a lot of those efforts. And of course, after the war, she came over to the United States. She was very active in the labor movement. And in 1948, she wound up apparently on the FBI's list. J. Edgar Hoover took an interest in her, and of course, and this is in the days of the Red Scare, and she found herself deported back to Canada from where she entered the United States originally. Never came back to this country after that.
That's fascinating, given the context of what we're discussing today with the launch of this new V for Victory campaign. Moving on to our main topic of discussion, which is Obama's chief of staff, of course, Rahm Emanuel. Now, we're limited with time today, but yesterday on Prison Planet, we posted the lengthy interview you did, Wayne, with the Reality Report on this subject. So I invite people to check out that video in the multimedia section of Prison Planet for further in-depth conversations on this subject. Let's start with the very first thing I learned about Rombo, as he's known, Rahm Emanuel, which was when he was appointed Obama's chief of staff in November 2008. And this relates to Emanuel's family and his background. Now, Rahm's father certainly had, shall we say, a colourful background, which is very interesting if you're of belief that, you know, the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree. So, Wayne, tell us about Rahm Emanuel's father and what he was involved with.
Well, we first heard in the media here about his father, Benjamin Emanuel, when after Rahm was appointed chief of staff, they asked his father about, you know, the influence his son would have in the Obama White House, and he said, "Well, my son's not going to be an Arab cleaning woman. He's chief of staff." Of course, we didn't really get much in the way of an apology from either one of either Benjamin Emanuel or Rahm Emanuel. You know, it was. I think Rahm Emanuel said he regretted his father's comments, but no apology, even though that was an absolutely racist thing for the father to say. And but this gets into what I said on the interview. What we have in the Emanuel family, it's certainly not just Benjamin the father. Now, Benjamin the father, I should point out, fought in with the Jewish terrorist organization, the Irgun, in what was then the British Mandate of Palestine, and was very much involved in the blowing up of the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, which killed British troops and officials, Arab Palestinians, and Jewish Palestinians. It was an indiscriminate terrorist bombing. But I was told by somebody whose father was a member of the British forces in Palestine at the time that Benjamin Emanuel was a highly wanted person by the Brits because his specialty was buses, not driving them, not preparing them, but blowing them up, especially buses packed with British military and police officers in Palestine. So this is what you as you say, that it's not only the apple. Ron didn't fall too far from the tree, but he's got these two brothers. One is this super agent Ari Emanuel, who apparently is a real SOB, known as an SOB in Hollywood, and then his other brother Ezekiel Emanuel seconded from the National Institutes of Health to help come up with the Obama health care program at the White House. And of course, there's a lot of rhetoric about Obamacare, but apparently Ezekiel Emanuel does favor some form of rationing and euthanasia, if that seems to be the only way to go to prevent a lot of money being spent on somebody who's obviously would be terminally ill anyway, and prolonging their life would be expensive under this health care program. So the father, Benjamin Emanuel, was a pediatrician in Chicago after he came over here from Israel, and in the late 60s, there's a report in the Chicago Tribune that one of the women in his care could not find a hospital on a Saturday. Apparently, Benjamin Emanuel was doing other things on Saturday, and the baby was born in a car looking for a maternity ward, and the baby died because of a lack of the doctor, the attending physician, who in this case was Benjamin Emanuel, getting involved to get that mother to a hospital as soon as possible.
I mean, it's amazing, going back to what you said about his gun terrorist ties. I mean, this was the group that, isn't it true that they worked with the infamous Stern gang, and that they were also involved in the Deir Yassin massacre, which was April 1948, which involved house-to-house slaughtering of Palestinian villagers? Right, it's true
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's also the case, and as I say, I think what you got with the Emanuel family is it's like the kosher version of The Sopranos. These are and the reason I think we've seen one after another mayoral candidate drop out in Chicago is probably a lot of strong arming behind the scenes. And now, what are we left with in the field? We're left with former Senator Carol Moseley Braun, who really nobody really thinks. I mean, they would not want her either, really, as mayor of Chicago. A couple of Hispanic American candidates, and that's about it. And the people in Chicago say, wait a minute, most of the people in the city despise Rahm Emanuel. The only people who seem to support him are living in the suburbs. They can't vote anyway. So why is he now leading in the polls? It's just how he got into the Congress. The same way people in that 5th district, which includes Wrigley Field, said they didn't know anything about him. There's many Assyrian Christians up there from Iraq originally who actually thought, based on his last name, hey, he might be, maybe he's an Assyrian Iraqi Christian, and they voted for him thinking he might have been kin, and it turns out he was quite the opposite. He served in the Israel Defense Force during the first Gulf War, for example, when our American men and women were going to Kuwait and Saudi Arabia and that part of the world to fight against Saddam Hussein. Rahm Emanuel thought it was more important to go join the IDF.
I mean, I can't get over the irony, Wayne Madsen, of Rahm Emanuel being part of an administration, and indeed Emanuel himself, pushing to become mayor of Chicago. An administration that tells Americans to inform on each other to stop terrorism, when Obama's right-hand man is the son of a terrorist who liked to blow up buses and hotels. I really can't get over the richness of that. But I mean,
you're right. I mean, and it's not just. Look, I don't want to pin this. There's so many hypocrites. Look, the new chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, Peter King from Long Island, was a supporter not just of the Irish Republican Army, but the provisional wing of the Irish Republican Army, the most violent wing of the Irish Republican Army, and he's now saying we ought to round up Muslims because they're potential terrorists. When this guy King himself, if it's Irish terrorism or Israeli terrorism, it seems to be okay with people in this government and in the Congress and in the White House. But if it's